Have you ever wondered which one of these two different drones performs the best on real-world client shoots? This is the DJI Avata 2 here, and this is my custom build 3.5-inch Cinelog drone from Gep Rc with the GoPro Hero 11. In this video, I'm going to take you guys behind the scenes on a few of my most recent real-world paid FPV client shoots, where I really want to showcase to you guys the true differences between these two different drones. I was able to fly through really awesome concert venues indoor, as well as doing really awesome, amazing acro freestyle at some really cool abandoned ruins. I really want to showcase to you guys the true differences between these two different drones and the pros and cons of each of them, because they're both very different tools in the end. So without further ado, let's dive into the field and get to those shoots. Alright guys, so diving into section number 1, I want to tell you guys about the story of my first FPV shoot I had earlier last week. And this is where everything basically started for this video. Basically, a client reached out to me and he really wanted some awesome FPV shots to showcase this really cool abandoned concrete factory located in American Canyon. And basically, the client wanted really cool FPV shots to really showcase this venue.
So they're gonna build a stage still, right?
Right.
So we just, I would say, highlight this place as much as you can, like fly in and out of it.
Okay.
Through there, in, and then up.
Yeah.
And then maybe back around and through. I definitely want a shot of like starting out from somewhere over there.
Yeah.
Going this way and then going up. Maybe not up that way.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
So like when you do the flip, it's gonna go to like Dallas.
Oh, interesting.
So another pilot's gonna fly it like that.
Okay. Yeah, we could do the flip thing. We get those out of the way. It's really big here. It's covered in graffiti. It really gives off really awesome underground rave vibes, and they really just wanted to show it off in a cool, dynamic, interesting, and trendy way. And before showing up to this gig, I packed up all my drones because you know how important it is to always bring multiple drones. But I anticipated that I was gonna use the Avata 2 because I saw on the map it was really large venue, and I know how great the Avata 2 performs, both with its battery life and its range, because there's so many concrete walls there. I just assumed that the Avata 2 with the 04 transmission and the long battery life would be great for the gig. So I got there, scattered it out, I flew around with the Avata, everything went well. I actually flew this a little bit as well. I found that since I was launching from not the best area, this thing wasn't performing as great because it's running the 03 air unit, and from where I launched from, there's a lot of walls to penetrate. So especially from my first impression, I thought the Avata 2 was gonna be great. However, once the client showed up, I realized that I was gonna move locations because it's really important to find the best location to launch from. All right guys, so over here is like the main ruins I think we're gonna focus on for this shoot. As you can see before, I launched from over here just because it was in the shade, out of the way. But what I was noticing was when you launch from here, it's not the best place to launch from because as you can see, there's so many layers of the building that really interrupt the connection of the drone, both on the Avata 2 and the custom. So I think the best place to launch from for this shoot is gonna be over here actually. See that wooden structure down over here? I think that's gonna be perfect because number one, it's out of the way. I don't anticipate that we're gonna be in the shot too much, but also it's perfect because from over here, I'm gonna have much better access to the ruins here, and I'm gonna have a lot less walls to go through for my drones. For that first pack, I set up my monitor there. I flew the Avata 2, and I just kind of assumed he wanted kind of like a traditional real estate type fly through. So I'll just kind of fly nice and slow through the windows, showing off the property. But then after that first flight, I could definitely see that the client wanted something a little bit more. And I think the client he actually had on the phone as well, he was talking to the real client. He mentioned he wanted me to do flips and stuff. So immediately then I knew I had to pull out the Gep Rc Cinelog 35, my custom rig FPV with the GoPro Hero 11. And the reason why I brought out this drone was because number one, it's a backup, but I am much more comfortable flying this drone in acro mode. I know the Avata 2 does offer acro mode, and I have been trying that out lately, but to me, honestly, it feels a little bit robotic, a little bit restricted, and I just wouldn't feel confident doing power loops, flips, going through really tight gaps in the full acro mode, just because honestly, I don't have that much experience with it. I mostly just fly in the regular normal mode. But I have so much experience flying in acro mode, doing flips, doing crazy stuff with this guy, so I just knew I had to pull out this guy. So basically for that second flight on, I basically just put away the Avata 2 and I started flying the Gep Rc Cinelog 35, and I could tell immediately that the client was super happy. Although I couldn't see his face, he was watching the monitor on my phone here, and I could just tell how excited he was about it because I was doing awesome flips. I was just flying way more dynamic, and one thing that stuck out to me was he actually mentioned how much smoother the footage looked just from the monitor, from the air unit, just from my phone. He just commented how much smoother it looked, and
that last one was probably the best one.
yeah,
That was so sick.
the gaps or the flips?
Yeah. Oh. The gaps and going to the main stage.
Sick. Yeah, once you get a feel for the place, it just kind of starts flowing. I could agree with him because it was a little bit windy that day, and even just on the phone, you could see that the Avata 2 is just kind of shaky, and it doesn't really account for the wind as well as the full custom rig. The custom rig is just much more nimble in the wind especially, and he was just really impressed with the way I was flying through, weaving through the windows, and I was just having a great time. And initially, I was concerned about my connection with the O3 air unit because it's not as rock solid as the O4 obviously, but I found that if you're really strategic about where you launch from and you're smart about that, the O3 air unit performed absolutely amazing. Although at times I did get a little bit sketched out because the megabits did drop quite a bit. However, I did not lose full connection the whole time. So that's amazing because on the older air units, you could lose connection really easily, but on the O3 is very solid. So even though I was going through a few walls of penetration, the O3 was super professional, held up very well the entire time. So I was really happy with the O3 air unit's performance. Thanks. Whew, all right. Thanks.
Flight number 1 done.
All right, what's going on guys? So today is day 2 of me being on set. And yesterday went really well. That was my first time working with a client and he was really chill actually. He does a lot of work for like artists and a lot of rappers and stuff. So he was really happy with the way I performed yesterday. So he already hit me up for a gig the next day. So right now I'm in Oakland, California, and I'm gonna be doing my first FPV of a concert. So I'm really excited for this. As usual, I got here a little bit early just to make sure I could set up, have enough time to get ready. I'm probably gonna fly a few practice packs, but I'm probably not gonna have that much time honestly, because the show's probably starting around 8 or something. So I'm gonna go there, set up, kind of practice around, get my lines, and then I think once the show starts, that's gonna be my money shot. So I gotta be ready, gotta be fast, but I'm really excited for this guy's first time doing concert FPV, so let's get it. So when I arrived on set, I noticed how small the venue was compared to what I expected. Of course, before I looked at some pictures online and it looked kind of small, but I didn't realize how small it would be in person. So in person, I saw the main kind of gathering area is very tight. The stage is really small and I was launching from the balcony up there, which was fine, but immediately I realized like, you know what, like it's not gonna be that safe to fly custom rig because it was dark in there, not much space at all. So I immediately told my client like, okay, yeah, this shoot is gonna be great for the Avata 2, and he agreed because this was also his first time, you know, hiring out FPV. So he really wanted to prioritize safety. He said, you know, don't go too crazy around the artist, don't disturb anyone, you know, just take it chill, just do a little test flight first, and then later just take off when the main act is going on. So I was like, okay, bet. I did my little test flight with the Avata 2. Everything seemed to be working pretty well. But one thing I didn't realize was that the Avata 2 was working well because the venue was still a little bit bright. At that time, it was around like 7 p.m. So there's still a lot of light coming in through the back windows. And I think the main venue was still decently lit. And so yeah, I did the test flight and everything seemed to be going well. Maybe about an hour later, once the opener's finished, I had probably around like 20 minutes before I was gonna get my money shot when the main artist comes on, and the client just wanted just like a few just really solid shots of me kind of swooping in when the main act comes on, you know, do some reveals around the crowd and stuff. He didn't want me to go too crazy. I was like, okay, sounds good. So then about like 10 minutes before the flight, I started setting up my drone. I was getting ready to fly the Avata 2. You know, I was making sure my camera settings were all dialed in. And then about 5 minutes before launching, I tried taking off. I wanted to be nice and ready. I noticed that I literally couldn't take off and I was panicking so much. In the bottom of my goggles on the Avata 2, it said goggles, compass interference, as well as just compass error for the drone as well. Usually you could still take off if it just says goggles, compass interference, but this time it was also saying like drone interference, compass interference, and I was like panicking because I've never seen this warning on the Avata 2. The main act was literally coming out in 5 minutes and I'm experiencing an error I've never seen and I can't take off. And I was super panicking. So in the moment, I was like, okay, you know what, screw the Avata 2. I'm gonna fly a custom rig now, you know, because I was like, okay, I know it's kind of small, it's not ideal, but at least I could get the shot. Because at this point, I was like, holy crap, I can't deliver the shot. I need to just get any shot in, you know? So I knew that this thing could probably work in a pinch, you know, because I flew it yesterday. And then I tried to plug it in, and then I realized that my cable for the GoPro Hero 11 wasn't working. And I was like, oh my God, just my luck. The main act is coming out in 5 minutes. My Avata 2 is not taking off. My GoPro's not powering on. I'm absolutely screwed. But then as a Part 107 pilot, I just kind of took a deep breath, relaxed a second, and then just kind of stayed calm because I know that there's probably a way to calibrate the compass. All I had to do was just go to the goggles, click safety, and then from there I could calibrate the compass and stuff and the goggles, and everything was all good. So I just immediately calibrated the compass, did the drone dance right now, and then everything was fine. I took off, and then right at that minute, the main act came out. So it was absolute clutch timing, but I was really panicking. But one thing that was really interesting is that once I was able to take off, I encountered another problem, which is that I'm so used to the Avata just maintaining a rock steady position hold because it has these nice sensors. But I found that since I was taking off and it was much darker, there's no more ambient light coming in from the windows, the venue is much darker, I found that the Avata was drifting so much, and it was actually really scary because, again, I'm not used to that. Like, I'm used to the Avata just being dialed in and hovering rock solid like a Mavic. But since it was so dark in there, this thing was literally veering to the right and to the left. It wasn't even windy at all, but just since the sensors aren't able to sense the ground or the side, it was going around like crazy. It was kind of like a custom built FPV. So that was another thing to work around. And I was really grateful to have my spotter Yusuke. So as I was flying with the goggles, I was talking to him, just making sure that I'm not next to the wall. So it's really important to have a spotter. And I was able to get the shots. The Avata 2 performed absolutely amazing. I dialed in my ISO max to 3200. I was shooting in a 4x3 mode, and I was able to get really good shots, you know, of the crowd, of the rapper. It turned out really awesome. And one tip I have for you guys is that in that environment, since it was so tight and since I didn't even have that much space anyways to do really cool FPV maneuvers, I found that it was a little bit easier for me to just fly line of sight. So I literally just took off my goggles like this. I had Yusuke hold my phone here. So I was basically flying like a Mavic. I know in some scenarios, flying like a Mini 3 with prop guards might have been better, but the Avata 2 was what I had at the time, and I was literally flying at line of sight like a Mavic. I had Yusuke holding the monitor here, I was getting the shots, I could see the drone, where it was in space, it was hovering, I was able to go back and forth, left and right, and although it still was having this kind of sketchy hover since it was so dark, I did feel a little bit more confident just because I was able to see the drone and be able to manipulate it more safely. I think this shoot was a major success because after the shoot, a few days later, one of the videographers for the singer was there actually, and he personally followed me, hit me up, just saying how happy he was with the drone shots, and I was super happy about that because in the moment I was so stressed out. I knew that I got probably some good usable content. I wasn't sure how good the low light was gonna be on the Avata 2, but I'm just so happy to hear that the main videographer was really happy with my shots. And I just learned so much about this shoot because again, it was so important to bring both of these drones, but it really shows how valuable the Avata 2 is in this situation. I mean, the Avata 2 is such a great drone for flying in really kind of small, tight environments where you really just want to prioritize safety and just getting the shot. Because although I could have gotten the shot with this, it would have been more risky. I wouldn't have that really good, nice position hold. I wouldn't be able to fly line of sight. And yeah, it just wouldn't be as safe in my opinion. So the Avata 2 was just the perfect choice for this job. So let's move on to the next one. All right, what's going on guys? So today we have another really exciting shoot today. I got hired to film like a really cool wedding venue haul. I'm out here in Fremont, and basically the goal is to get some shots of this really cool wedding venue, both before the party, like of all the decorations, all the cool stuff like that. And then also once the party starts, kind of like a festival style shot. So that's gonna be really exciting. So I made sure I get here nice and early to set up early, and then we're gonna start shooting. So let's do it. And shoot number 3 was really cool because it was just so different, and that's why last week was so exciting, because each of these different shoots provided such different scenarios to really put myself to the test as a pilot, and also these drones as well. So this final shoot was really cool because I was doing an FPV one-take tour of a really cool wedding venue in Fremont. And this is a really cool gig because it was kind of unlike the other ones, because this one, it's a nice larger venue. It's one of a more traditional kind of FPV drone jobs where you're just kind of doing a tour, starting from the outside, going to the inside, going around, showing off the venue. And the client really wanted to showcase not only the main party itself, where the wedding was taking place, but also before, and really just showing off the decor of the place, the decorations, the new ceiling, just the space without the people. And then a few hours later, of course, he wanted shots of the main party going on, and that was really cool as well. And for this job, I did bring all of my drones as well. I was planning on flying my custom 2.5 inch as well, just to test it out, but I knew deep down before even showing up on set, I absolutely knew that the Avata 2 was definitely gonna be the one for the job. And the reason why I know that is because the Avata 2 performs so well in real estate environments. I've done a handful of fly-throughs inside, and as I mentioned earlier, since it has that really good position hold in these sensors and the hover point, it makes flying inside really easy, because since you don't have to worry about your throttle control and really staying centered, you can literally just let your mind relax, and you're able to fly really slowly and really precisely, unlike any other FPV drone I've ever flown. So the Avata 2 is really good for flying indoors. So I knew even before showing up on set, the Avata 2 was gonna be the one for the job. And when I showed up on set, I was let on site by the client. She let me in. I set up in a nice room there, got all my gear set up, and I was on a time crunch because I know how Indian weddings are. It's a little bit hectic. There's still people setting up. The family was gonna come early. So I got there probably like 40 minutes early, and I didn't really want to mess around with the custom rig because I just wanted to get the shot, because it was kind of a long week and I didn't want to kind of extend stuff too much and really dilly-dally. I really just wanted to get the shots and make sure I was kind of checking off all the boxes and just getting the job done. So I immediately launched the Avata 2, got some test flights in, and the Avata 2 performed absolutely amazing. The first couple takes I did flying from outside to inside was really seamless. It was a little bit windy. However, the Avata 2 just performed so well going from the outside to the inside with the auto exposure. That worked amazingly well, and it just feels so natural to fly inside. I mean, I really like the Avata 2 because when you're flying inside, there's literally no wind, and the Avata 2 just feels so seamless and so limitless. I know the Avata 2 doesn't perform that well in the wind, but when you're inside, it just excels so much because you don't have any input from the wind, and you're just able to just have 100% control of the drone and just be in complete control. So I really like the Avata 2 for indoor flights. One thing I really appreciate about the Avata 2 is the fact that everything is just so plug and play. I do wish that the vertical mode was a little bit better. I feel like the GoPro sensor has a little bit better of a vertical mode because you're able to shoot an 8:7 aspect ratio. So I feel like that allows you to maintain more width when you're cropping to vertical. Since the Avata 2 is a 4:3 sensor, although the vertical footage is still usable, I just felt like I was kind of missing out on the sides a little bit, and I really hope that the client is okay with that. But I think the Avata 2 is just such a great tool because everything is so plug and play and just makes being on set so much more relaxing and less stressful. Because after I got all those shots of the before shots, I had to wait a few hours for the party to start, and there's so many people in that venue. I mean, there's hundreds of people. The parking lot was packed. There's a ton of people dancing, people eating, and having the Avata 2 just made being on set so much relaxing. All right guys, so it's time. Everyone's dancing now. The party is popping. Right now is the perfect time to fly. I've been here for a few hours now, so I'm a little bit nervous for this flight because there's so many people here. It's my first like really big venue shot, really. So I'm a little bit nervous, but pretty confident everything's gonna be okay. I was able to just come back, set up my Avata, and I felt relaxed, you know. I didn't feel panicked because my battery life is so long, and I knew I could just take my time with the shot. So once the party was started, You know, I took some deep breaths, I launched the Avata 2, and I started my shot. And I did everything in one take, which was absolutely amazing. Because I know with FPV, like, it's all about the quality of the flight. And I knew after that first take, although one guy did kind of interrupt my shot, I knew I could just speed ramp it. So I knew that in post, I could just kind of get around that. So that's really important to know. But the Avata 2 just performed so well in that final fly through because there's so many people there. I was really nervous, you know, it was my first time really doing like an indoor fly through of a very large party like that with a ton of people. I really didn't want to crash, didn't want to embarrass myself, wanted to be as safe as possible. But just the fact that I got there early and practiced my lines and really kind of knew that the Avata 2 could handle that line and had great connection, and I knew that I had the battery life to redo the take if I wanted to, I was just so relaxed, you know? Like if I was flying a custom rig FPV like my 2.5 inch, that thing only has like 3 minutes of battery life. So imagine if I took off, like that internal timer just starts ticking down and it makes you really nervous. Like if I flew the custom rig, I'd be like, oh crap, I have 3 minutes left, you know, I gotta finish this, gotta do it now, and I might rush, I might make mistakes. But since the Avata 2, the battery life is legit 20 minutes, I'm able to fly very slowly and precisely. I'm able to tilt that gimbal up and down. It made that final fly through really seamless, and it made me do the job in one take. So I think the Avata 2 is just such a powerful tool and really good for indoor fly throughs, especially above people and stuff. I think that's where the Avata 2 really shines. And my favorite part about the Avata 2 is the way you're able to fly indoors. The Avata 2 is so awesome because it has these sensors and it really has a nice position hold. And if you let go of the sticks, everything just hovers. So for that reason, it makes flying indoors extremely easy because you're able to take it really slow, just take your time and hit gaps at your pace. Because on custom, although you can go slow and precise, it's just so much sometimes to think about maintaining your throttle, maintaining your hover, and hitting gaps, and just thinking about all those different things. But the Avata 2, since you don't really have to worry about your hover point, you don't have to really worry about your throttle control as much, it makes flying inside so much easier. All right guys, that was really nerve-wracking, but I'm really happy I got it done. Got it done all in one take. I'm all ready to go now. I could do it again now, but honestly, that was like, my heart was beating so fast, like I've had enough adrenaline for today. I'm just gonna pack up, call it a day. We got the shot. All right guys, I think that shows the importance of how essential it is to get to the spot early, because if I showed up late and just came here and just tried to get this money shot of all the people here, I would have been so nervous here. I would have been so worried about my connection, what line I was gonna take. There would just be so much going on in my head. But since I got here early, did a bunch of pre-flights, just flying around when there's no one in here, getting shots of the decor, I killed two birds with one stone because I gave the client some really cool before shots of all the decorations of the hall, but then also I could provide those really awesome shots with all the people. So overall, that was really awesome. And yeah, it was just so important that I got here early because since I already knew exactly which line I was gonna take, and I could be confident that the Avata was gonna maintain great connection, I didn't really have to worry that there was people. Like, of course, the people was a challenge because there's so many of them, and they were walking around. It was just really overwhelming, but as long as you stay calm, just be confident in the line that you're gonna take, and just make sure you fly nice and slowly around people, I think everything's gonna be all good. All right, guys, so I really hope that you guys learned something from this video. I really want to bring you guys behind the scenes and to give you guys my real world experience on the true differences between these two different drones. And I think that this video really summarizes that so well because each of these different shoots were so different and it really caters to different tools. On that first shoot in the ruins, I really want to tell you guys just how much more agile custom FPV is. I mean, I was able to just do really cool acro flips and really push myself to limits I never really imagined. Like, you guys know me, I'm more of a cinematic pilot. I don't do too many acro stuff, I don't do too many power loops, but in that moment, being on site and getting paid for getting shots, it really just allowed me to enter this new creative zone where I was able to push myself to its limits because I'm not used to doing really dynamic acro stuff like that. But just being on set, being with the right tools, with the right clientele, the right location, it's just really amazing the limits you could push yourself to. Like, I never imagined myself flying in a dynamic manner like that, but it just goes to show how much you could grow so much after each shoot, and how different drones can help you grow as a pilot. Because if I had the Avata 2 for that job, I still probably could get decent shots, but I wouldn't be able to unlock my true creative potential like I was able to on my custom rig. So that's why different drones are so important to your tool set and your arsenal as an FPV pilot. On those 2-second shoots, both in the concert venue and the wedding venue, it really shows where the Avata 2 excels. I mean, the Avata 2 is just such a great drone for tight spaces, flying indoors, and when you want to prioritize safety. It's just such a great tool to have, and I really hope you guys learned something from this video. I think one big takeaway is it's so important to have both of these drones, because as you guys can see, this past week has been super versatile. I've been getting shots with my Air 3, the Avata 2, my custom rig. It's so important to have a plethora of drones for your drone business if you want to survive. You gotta stay modern, you gotta stay up to date, and really push yourself to improve as a pilot. And it's so important to have the correct tools for that. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Really hope you guys enjoyed this kind of content. Please hit that like button, hit subscribe, really helps out the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.